Welcome back to the Pine Martens class story. We're looking at the mysteries of the hidden gold. We're on chapter 2, another exciting discovery. There must be another page somewhere, Scott said. But he was talking to himself. Jack, Emily and Drift had already piled into the hole. Drift yelped. "Sorry, mate," said Jack. "Didn't mean to stand on your paw." "I can't see a thing with you in the way," Emily complained. Scott laughed. "You guys look like you're trying to break the Guinness Book of Records for the most people in the confined space." Jack climbed out and gave Emily room to shine the torch around. There didn't seem to be any holes or alcoves built into the rough walls, but Drift didn't let that fool him. The little dog was a medley of many breeds, but his nose was 100% pure bloodhound. And that finely tuned nose was picking up something very interesting in the back corner. Emily examined the wall where Drift was scrabbling with his paws. "Give me your penknife, Jack," she called. She inserted the small blade into the hairline crack and twisted. Something gave a little. She levered the blade further and a piece of the wall eased out like a loose brick. Emily's heart was racing as she reached into the gap. Her fingers brushed against the rectangular object with a smooth surface. "It's a book." She hoisted herself out of the hidey hole and helped Drift clamber out after her. "You're a canine genius," she laughed, wrapping her arms around him. Scott stared at the book in Emily's hands. It was the size of a fat textbook and bound in rusty maroon leather. It was probably an old Bible or a dictionary. He couldn't help feeling disappointed. Antique books might be interesting, if you were into that kind of thing, but he wasn't. Page 2 of their mystery letter. But when Emily prized open the stiff pages, they were filled with spiderly handwriting. "It's a journal," she breathed. She cracked the front page open. Inscribed on the first time mottled page were the words, "Property of John Nathaniel Macy, 1902. Jack whistled. That's the guy the letter's addressed to." There was a long silence. The three friends looked at each other in amazement. This journal could hold the answer. What was the secret? And what had happened hidden on the island? Bursting with excitement, they settled down in the dining room where the light was better for reading the journal's faded handwriting. The dining room was housed in the conservatory, added on to the side of the lounge, so that the guests would enjoy the panoramic ocean views over their breakfast. At least they could when the windows weren't being lashed with horizontal rain and sea spray. Luckily, they were made of extra tough reinforced glass. The power was still off, so Emily fetched an oil lamp from the dresser. She struck a match, lit the lamp, and turned the wick up inside the curved glass mantle so that it cast a pool of bright light across the table. Emily carefully placed the journal in the middle of the table. She took a deep breath and was about to open it at page 1 when Jack reached out, grabbed the book by the covers, and gave it a good old shake. "Hey, what are you doing?" Emily protested. Jack shook the journal again. A sheet of paper fluttered onto the table. He punched the air. "Bet you $1 million it's the £1,000,000 it's the missing page." Emily stared. Jack was right. The handwriting matched the letter exactly. She lined the 2 pages up side by side and read the last words of the page. "We hid the," and the first word on the second page, "cargo." Jack thumped the table. "Cargo? We hid the cargo?" "Yeah, that really narrows it down. Why can't this guy just cut to the chase and tell us what it is?" "Hang on," Emily said. "Let's see what else he's got to say." She continued to read. "Which had come into my possession in the Transvaal." She hesitated. "Where's the Transvaal?" "It's where Count Dracula comes from," Jack said. And awesome thought suddenly occurred to him. "Hey, do you think this guy's a vampire?" This letter could be written in blood. Scott rolled his eyes and shook his head slowly. That's Transylvania, you brain. Anyone's know where Transvaal is? Emily called through the guest house lounge. Oh, is this a quiz? Mrs. Hartley, the mother of the Kerplunk family, looked up from the game. I love quizzes. Now, don't tell me. Transvaal. I'm sure that's South Africa. There was a mighty crash. Now, which of one of you two knocked the game over? He did, the twins chorused. Emily grinned. Remind you of anyone? She asked. Scott and Jack looked at each other blankly and shook their heads. Emily laughed. Then they all leaned forward to continue reading. We then returned to the lifeboat and rowed for the shore, planning to return at a later date to recover our property. The storm raged on, and our little boat foundered on the treacherous rocks. Tommy was washed overboard. The Lord have mercy on his soul. But I was saved by your good self and brought back to the lighthouse. Lately, I have heard that men have arrived in the village asking for my whereabouts. They have followed me from Africa in search of the cargo, which they claim I stole from them. Although, who is to deny a soldier the spoils of war? But I must flee and lie low until they cease to search for me here. I know you will not double-cross me, so in any case of accident should befall on me, I leave you this map for safekeeping. If I do not return within 3 months, you may use it as you will. Do not reveal its contents to anyone, for it shows the location of the African gold. I remain your grateful friend, William Maddox. African gold? Scott murmured. Now we're talking, Jack laughed. That's my kind of cargo. And there's a map. Emily's heart was doing backflips. She could sense mystery and adventure in the air. She flicked through the cracky pages of the journal. It has to be here. At last, she found it. A sheet of thick parchment stuck inside the back cover. She smoothed it out on the table. The 3 friends huddled round, their heads almost touching. The ink was badly faded and speckled, but the outline of an island and some scribbled notes were barely visible. The words Gull Island were written along the top. Gull Island? Emily cried. That's not far. You can see it from here. She ran to the window and looked west across the bay. Scott and Jack stood behind her and peered out. Thunder rumbled and lightning flashed. A sea-grue flew past backwards, flapping its vane against the gale-force wind. At least you can usually see it, Emily sighed. Anyone in here hungry? Jack turned to see Emily's mum entering the dining room. She was in one of her long painted splattering caftans, her wild black hair pinned up with a pair of pencils. More importantly, as far as Jack was concerned, she was carrying a tray of toast and hot chocolate she had made on the wood stove in the lounge. Hungry? He was ravenous. Jack sank his teeth into a piece of buttery toast and sighed happily. Could this day get any better? He was in a lighthouse, in the middle of a storm, poring over a century-old treasure map by the light of a flickering oil lamp. He was a pirate on the high seas, searching for a chest of gold, buried on a desert island. Okay, so pirates probably didn't snack on toast and Marmite, and they probably didn't have Emily's dad, aka Seth Wilde, the ex-guitarist of the famous 80s rock band, strumming Bon Jovi's Living on a Prayer in the background. Maybe he should not put in a request for yo-ho-ho and a bottle of rum. What was that? Scott asked. Nothing, just clearing my throat, Jack mumbled. So you didn't say yo-ho-ho, Scott teased. I might have imagined it. Emily giggled. So where's the X? Jack asked quickly, changing the subject. Any decent treasure map must have an X marks the spot. And you're a leading expert on treasure maps, are you, Captain Jack Sparrow? Scott laughed. Although he'd secretly been scanning the map for an X2, there wasn't one. Instead, there were arrows and numbers and some notes scrawled in the margin. I get the feeling William Maddox didn't want to make this map too easy to figure out in case it fell into the wrong hands. What do you think, Em? But Emily was only half listening. She was lost in John Mackey's journal. She'd found the entry for the night the Empress went down in the storm. Mackey's words told how the lantern in the lighthouse failed during the ferocious tempest. The Empress ran aground on the dangerous reefs in Castle Key Bay. John Mackey described how he rowed out and rescued a lone survivor. Listen to this, she told the boys. William Maddox is most insistent that I not inform another living soul of his survival, and since he is so weak after his ordeal in the storm, I have agreed to his request. But I am resolved to discover the reasons for this secrecy when he is stronger. I suspect there may be foul play. Yeah, he's nicked some gold in Africa and buried it. That's pretty foul, Scott said. What about August the 5th, the date of William Maddox's letter? Emily turned the pages. Here it is. Yes, he says he's surprised to find that Maddox had left without warning. Then there's the bit about finding the map and the letter. He says he's going to keep them safely hidden, but he's wondering whether he should go to the police. Emily paused. That's weird, she murmured. Scott shrugged. Not really. He must have been an honest citizen. No, not that. This. Emily pointed to the journal. There's a few more entries. Just routine stuff about the weather and the tides. Nothing about Maddox turning up again. But then the journal stops. The last day in August, the 20th, 1902. Join us again. Bye.